Throughout most of history, military power was measured by size. The bigger army usually won. More soldiers meant more endurance. More manpower meant more firepower. And wars often lasted years, sometimes decades. But modern warfare changed that equation. Today, wars are rarely decided by who has the largest force. They are decided by who can act faster. Because modern battlefields move at a pace that large organizations struggle to survive. Missiles travel at thousands of miles per hour. Drones can find targets in minutes. Satellite intelligence can reveal troop movements instantly. And commanders often have only seconds to make decisions that determine the outcome of entire operations. But here's where it gets dangerous. Speed in warfare does not just mean moving quickly across terrain. It means making decisions faster than your opponent can respond. And that concept is what truly determines victory. Truly determines victory. Military strategist John Boyd called this the OODA loop. Observe, orient, decide, act. Every military operation follows this cycle. First, you observe the battlefield. Then you interpret what is happening. Then you decide what action to take. And finally, you execute that action. But the side that cycles through this process faster begins to dominate the fight, because they are always one step ahead. Every time the enemy reacts, the faster force has already moved again, and eventually the slower force stops reacting effectively at all. They begin to collapse into confusion. Now here's the part that changes everything. Speed does not just create advantage, it creates disorientation. A slower military force becomes overwhelmed. Orders arrive too late. Information becomes outdated. Units move toward targets that are no longer there, and command structures begin to break down. This is exactly what happened during the 1967 Six-Day War. Israel faced multiple Arab armies that were significantly larger. Egypt, Syria, and Jordan together had far more troops and equipment. On paper, Israel should have been at a severe disadvantage. But Israeli forces executed an operation that moved faster than their enemies could react. Within hours of the war beginning, Israeli aircraft destroyed most of the Egyptian Air Force on the ground. Not through overwhelming numbers, but through rapid execution. Israeli pilots launched wave after wave of strikes before Egyptian command could fully understand what was happening. Within a single day, the balance of power had completely shifted, and the war was effectively decided. But speed did not stop with air operations. Israeli armored units pushed forward aggressively across multiple fronts. They maneuvered faster than enemy commanders could reposition their forces. Entire defensive lines collapsed simply because they could not react quickly enough. This is the hidden truth about modern warfare. Speed turns confusion into collapse. But here's where most analysts get it wrong. They assume speed only benefits smaller forces. In reality, even large militaries must design themselves around speed if they want to survive. And no military demonstrated that better than the United States during Operation Desert Storm. In 1991, Iraq possessed one of the largest armies in the world. Nearly 1 million troops, thousands of tanks, massive defensive fortifications across Kuwait. Yet the war was effectively decided in just 100 hours of ground combat. Why? Because coalition forces moved faster than Iraqi command structures could process the situation. Coalition aircraft destroyed Iraqi command centers, communication systems, and radar networks before the ground war even began. Then coalition armored forces executed a massive flanking maneuver through the desert. Iraqi commanders expected a direct assault. Instead, coalition forces attacked from directions Iraqi planners believed were impossible, and Iraqi units began surrendering in massive numbers, not because they lacked weapons, but because their command systems had collapsed. The Iraqi military was simply too slow to respond. But speed in modern warfare is becoming even more important. Because technology is accelerating the pace of conflict, drones now identify targets in real time. Artificial intelligence can process battlefield data instantly. Missiles can strike targets hundreds of miles away within minutes. And cyber attacks can disrupt command networks before the first shot is fired. This means future wars may unfold faster than anything in human history. Some analysts believe major conflicts between advanced militaries could be decided within days, possibly even hours. And that reality is already visible in current conflicts. The war in Ukraine has shown how rapid intelligence and precision weapons can reshape the battlefield. Ukrainian forces often rely on drone reconnaissance to identify Russian targets. Once a target is identified, artillery or rocket systems can strike within minutes. The entire cycle from detection to destruction can occur faster than Russian forces can relocate. This constant pressure forces slower units into defensive paralysis. They hide, they disperse, they stop maneuvering, and eventually they lose the ability to operate effectively. But the importance of speed extends beyond the battlefield. It also shapes strategic decision-making. Countries must now consider how quickly wars could escalate. Missile strikes, cyber attacks, electronic warfare. All of these actions can unfold in rapid sequence. And once escalation begins, leaders may have only minutes to decide how to respond. This creates a dangerous environment where slow decision-making becomes a liability, because the side that hesitates can lose critical advantages before they even understand what is happening. But here's where the real strategic shift appears. Large militaries are beginning to restructure themselves around speed and flexibility instead of mass. Smaller units, distributed operations, autonomous systems, networked warfare, all designed to increase the speed at which forces can operate. The U.S. Marine Corps is currently redesigning itself around this concept. Instead of large formations designed for massive amphibious assaults, the Marines are shifting towards smaller, mobile units equipped with long-range missiles. These units can deploy quickly, strike targets rapidly, and relocate before the enemy can respond. The goal is simple: move faster than the opponent's decision cycle. Because when that happens, even a smaller force can dominate a much larger one. This principle is now shaping military strategy worldwide. China is investing heavily in hypersonic weapons designed to strike targets faster than traditional defenses can respond. Russia focuses on rapid strike capabilities and electronic warfare designed to disrupt command systems. And NATO militaries are building highly mobile forces designed to deploy and maneuver quickly across multiple regions. All of these changes reflect the same underlying truth. The future battlefield will reward speed above almost everything else. Not size, not even raw firepower. Speed. Because the faster force controls the tempo of the war, and the side that controls the tempo controls the outcome. But this leads to a final and uncomfortable insight. The faster wars become, the less time leaders have to prevent them. If future conflicts unfold in hours or days, diplomacy may struggle to keep up. Decisions that once took weeks may have to be made in minutes, and the risk of miscalculation increases dramatically. Which means the real challenge of modern warfare may not be fighting wars faster. It may be preventing them before the speed of modern weapons makes them impossible to control. And that is why understanding the role of speed in warfare is no longer just a military concern. It is a strategic reality that will shape global security for decades to come. Because in the wars of the future, the side that moves faster will not just win battles, they may end the war before the enemy even realizes it has begun.